Giorgio Sancristoforo is an artist, a sound designer, a musician, a teacher, a writer, a maker of fine and extraordinary music software like Bento, Ongaku, and even Berna 3. He makes installations of artwork. He cooperates with universities and even with the European Commission. Since 2006, he has written softwares for education and experimental music used by artists and teachers in more than 40 countries worldwide. Among them, names like Curtis Rhodes, Ben Frost, Richie Hawtin, Robert Lippock, and others. And he has worked with institutions such as Stanford's CCRMA, the BBC Radiophonic Workshop, the Royal College of Music of Stockholm, the Tufts University, the San Diego City College, and the Centro Nacional de las Artes of Mexico City. His work in experimental music research has obtained the respect and appreciation of numerous composers, musicians, and professors in the academic field. His artistic practice is focused on the relationship between science and art, specializing in multimedia installations, soundscape, algorithmic music, and radioactivity imaging, with a special interest in genomics and nuclear physics. Giorgio is expert artist for the European Commission. Giorgio Sancristoforo crosses borders in music, in science, and in art in general. And here he is, Giorgio Sancristoforo.
Giorgio, I'm really happy to have you meet you at least via Skype. And I hope you are doing well.
Yes. I just got back from Egypt, where I had a wonderful trip on the Nile. So I'm pretty relaxed and ready for the new year.
Great. Okay, let's jump right into the matter of our talk, which is your work, of course. I really don't know how I should call it, but let me say you have a quite Renaissance approach to things, meaning you do a lot of different things. You try to cross borders. You are a musician. You make beautiful, I have to say, really beautiful music software. It was the first thing I got it. By the way, last week I showed your software to a doctor, medical, and yeah, I'm an old guy. Sometimes I have to visit one of these strange persons. And he looked at it and said, "Wow, if I would know what it is, I would buy it." It's so beautiful. Okay, you work with universities, European Commission, write books, and how does this all glue together? How does this lead to the man which is you?
Well, I really don't want to sound exaggerating the thing, but I think I have a certain connection with Leonardo da Vinci. You know, he was both an artist and a scientist, and it really fascinates me how this Renaissance thinking is still a great value for music, especially for research in music. And I believe that one of the most incredible things happened to me in these years was this encounter with the European Commission Joint Research Center, where I did a residency between 2018 and 2020. Where I had the opportunity to work with scientists both in the field of nuclear physics and genomics. And that opened me like a huge door because the sci-art, so-called sci-art, it's really fascinating to me. And if you think about electronic music, the development of electronic music started really when musicians began to use scientific equipment, such as measurement instruments like oscillators and oscilloscopes and so on. And therefore, I think that the contribute of science into music can push forward electronic music. We are very conservative in electronic music nowadays. If you think about the renaissance of the analog technology, the modular synthesizers, all things that we love. But at the same time, I think that we have this amazing opportunity to use technology available to the public, such as the DNA analysis or like particle detectors like this, which nowadays are available to the general public. They can contribute to enhance and research new things in music. Electronic music really needs to find again itself.
I see.
Got a little bit the analog renaissance, which is really nice, but I think that we should also focus on future rather than past. So this is why I am interested in making experiments with X-rays or particles or genomics and music. We have tools nowadays which are incredible. They're just there and they are cheap. And so I think that we should look into new technologies such as EA, for example, artificial intelligence, or quantum computing, or everything that nowadays science wants to bring the electronic music to another level. And of course, I am a man with lots of interest in. I've been interested in science since I was a kid. I was an amateur astronomer with telescopes and stuff like that since I was a kid. So, and radio also, like radio amateur. And so science is an interesting tool. So that's why it glues together, because, music has a strong connection with mathematics and science since the age of Pythagoras. We are all Pythagoreans, like Xenakis said, which I believe is true, because still if you think about, let's say, for example, NASA has this strong interest in sonification of phenomena of astrophysics. So that's something that really is important to me.
Okay.
Together.
Let me put a spotlight on one thing. One of the things you mentioned, going back to the 50s, late 50s, more or less, and looking forward. I think, of course, we are technically on a completely different level, surely, economically as well. But I think what we are missing, not all of us, of course, what is missing is a little bit of, let's say, of the mentality of the ghost of the 1950s, 1960s, to discover new things, to try new things. When I see how musicians go, even good musicians, of course, a lot of friends I have, you go and use the instruments which are available. They use them like, I would say, Beethoven would use the piano, and that's it. Yeah, and so I think it's the ghost. It's important to let's say the intention of going ahead, going to unknown territory, more than in technical ways.
Yes, well, I will say something controversial.
Yeah.
And we'll get some critics. Okay. I think that we have to move forward from the thinking of people like Wendy Carlos. She took the synthesizer, which was a striking new instrument, delivered exactly from the electronic music studios of the decade before. And she done something very conservative. She played Bach instead of trying to find new languages in music. Now, what's the difference between today and the 50s is that the musicians of the 50s were forced to use electronic music because it was the only mean to evolve the musical language. It was designed to go beyond the limitation of acoustic instruments, and also to give the composer the possibility to have the total control on the sound. Instead, of course, if you think about any kind of composer, has to face the problem of interpretation of the orchestra, and that is direct a huge limit in the 20th century, which is surpassed by the technology. Nowadays, we use technology in a conservative way. We look back. We don't look anymore further to evolve the music language. As a matter of fact, if you think, let me say something again controversial, the latest video of Björk sounds like something of 20 years ago. It's nice, but we already heard this. There's nothing really new in having a DJ and some clarinets and the same melodic lines of the voice. So I think that we are missing what is the goal of electronic music, which is not just entertainment, which is not just making nice music, amusing music, but the goal was to push forward music theory, to create new words. Where are these new words nowadays?
I see.
I mean, like funk and jazz and all these beautiful things of music, of course. But I question why we are using modern technology to do old things.
I see. Sure. Just a thing comes into my mind. I think it was also Xenakis who said that the quality of music has to be measured with how intelligent, how many intellect is put into the composing. And I think he was
the real groundbreaker. I think he's one of the finest example of the evolution of the serialist thinking. The post-serialism I think he's one of the best, because he really got into mathematical engineering problems applied to music, and he made an immense work, an immense contribution to music. So where are the new pioneers? Do we have pioneers nowadays?
Well, to be honest, I don't see any. Not any. No. I don't see any successful.
Yes,
pioneers. That's something different.
That's really the point.
Yeah.
The public, the general public, is really interested in music as entertainment. And music of Xenakis or Stockhausen or Moderna was not about entertainment, was about philosophy, mystical and scientific, and music theory for the future. It was about going further, and this is not very popular nowadays. People is conservative. They listen over and over to the same genre. They use the same instruments, and we are very conservative. This is very important to me. We are very conservative about software. We use mass market software, which I think is part of the problem. And another part is the education of the public towards new forms of music. That's why it's not very popular.
I think we will return to this matter a little. Yeah.
We'll close this, but it was never popular. I mean, when Stockhausen was presenting his music in Darmstadt or the festivals of contemporary music back in the 50s, nobody liked it. He was like pointed like, you are destroying music, you are destroying the values and the beauties of music. The music that goes forward is seldom recognized as music.
Yeah. I had a lot of discussions with my father, who's unfortunately not living anymore. He was the classic neoclassical composer. Beethoven adapted. Okay, well, we will come back to this matter later, a little bit later. I think you mentioned software. I'd like to talk about your software a little bit more in detail now. The newest one is Ongaku, and a little bit, let's say, looking like with the Bento Japanese box. Let's talk about Ongaku. At first, for the watchers and listeners to this interview, about, I think, in 2 weeks or something like that, it will go public. How long is your summer sale going on your website?
I'm sorry, can you repeat
On
the question?
on your website, I discovered a summer sale of your software.
Yeah.
And for how long is it?
It will end on September 21st.
On September 21st. So people outside, go there at once. You will find the link down in the description. Okay.
With a very small price, you can buy a lot of stuff on my website. And I proudly say that it's different. The software thinks different. That's my goal. It has always been to make software that nobody wants to do, because it's not commercial. It's not. It would never fit, for example, Ableton or Arturia, these huge companies which are marvelous and I love them, but it would never fit their market. So there's a niche of the market which is available to me and to other great software developers. I'm thinking about the Cosmos F, for example, software, which is, to me, of Sinan Bokesoy. He's a genius for me because he really thinks different. And I always had this goal of making software that nobody could do because it's not commercially feasible for a huge market. I dedicate most of my software for the people who want to go on uncharted territories that commercial mass market software cannot give you.
All right. Bento to Ongaku. What led you to making Ongaku after having made Bento?
Both the two softwares were in my mind after I had some journey into analog computers. When I realized that using differential equations, we could create new kind of oscillators and noise generators. So the core of the two software are more or less related to strange differential equations which I created, which sounds really wild, sounds really analog sounding sounds. For example, I think that Bento is incredible because it really looks like and sounds like something analog and wild, wild organic as analog, which I think demonstrates that it's possible to use software to create those wild, organic, unpredictable sounds, because people tend to think that digital is predictable, which is not true. It depends on how you program it.
Sure.
So Ongaku is the evolution, or to better say, it's a companion to Bento. It's the more, probably it's more softer, it's more delicate. It's not that wild, but it can go wild if you push it. And they fit well together because probably with Ongaku, I'm trying to finally put more generative approach into software, which I think it's something that people like, especially also newbies on electronic music. They need tools that help them to think about music in a different way. And what I really like of software began when I realized the potentials of the generative thing, and especially this was born when I was studying serialist composition. And then I developed it. Of course, a serialism can be seen as sort of algorithm.
Sure.
And the possibility that the machine is not just a tool I use like a guitar, but it gives me some answers to my questions. It interacts with me. So I think that I will go further on this generative programming, because I think it's fascinating when the computer is the second head in the composition. It gives you some help. But we are doing this also in the graphic music world with Midjourney, for example. We are seeing that the computer can relate to us not just as tools, but as an artificial mind that cooperate with you. And I like to be surprised by the machine. I like to create things that, oh, I wouldn't have think this sound or this thing. The computer is suggesting me some solution which I wouldn't have thought. I like interaction.
I see. So the question then is, as from the side of a composer, at the end, when the piece is done, when it's ready, or well, I think no piece is ready, and never. Okay. Let's say ready. How much is yours, ours, and how much is the machine's?
Well, this topic is very hot, for example, in the artificial intelligence community and art. Well, I think that at the end, you make the final decisions. It doesn't matter if it's a machine or my collaborator doing a part of the job. At the end of the day, it's me that I decide if this is good or not. If I want this or I don't want this. So I think that the problem is a false problem, because we make decisions. I would like to use this topic using John Cage. John Cage was controversial in a way because he said he doesn't want to be part of the composition, just like watching something from the outside and see things going on. But the true reality, so he spoke about Zen, about contemplation, about the known work of the composer, a known composer making music. So in a way, this is not really entirely true, because at the end of the day, he made decisions every time he composed a piece. How do I use the I Ching? That's a choice. The I Ching is an algorithm, but you written the algorithm, so that's a choice. That's a composing choice. So when you compose with algorithms, you basically are on a different level of composition. When you write things like the classical way, I write note by note a song, I'm doing it at low level. On another level, I can compose with algorithms, but anyway, have to make choices. There's no way. Even if you prompt a Midjourney prompt, okay, if you write a Midjourney prompt, it's you. You are choosing what to write. It's not the artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence is there waiting for instruction of another computer so far. So I think that and the role of artificial intelligence in electronic music, I think it will take momentum and get super popular in the future, but we have to probably change the way we build computers. For example, one day I think that artificial intelligence will substitute any kind of virtual synth or library or sample. you will ask to an artificial intelligence, maybe at Ableton, to give you a sound of bass of Jaco Pastorius. And then the artificial intelligence will think about it and probably will help you with the sound. I'm not talking about the line of the sound, maybe,
Yeah, sure.
but probably the sound could be generated by artificial intelligence. And we are seeing these experiments going on, for example, on Google, and we really don't know what's going on in the future. But I'm sure we will not use plugins and libraries and sample libraries anymore. But to arrive at this stage, probably we will see more and more the software not on our computers, but on servers. And our computers will be just like a terminal.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's very likely to happen in the future. And we are seeing this. For example, I tell you this because I'm seeing this in the 3D software world.
Yes.
Nowadays, the Autodesk, for example, they are doing a great job in generative design. They're using artificial intelligence, and people is using a lot this technology. So if engineering and design is using this, I think that probably we will have something similar in the future for music. It's a little bit more difficult for music because it's not just an image or a solid on 3D. It's much more complex. That's why it takes a little bit more time to develop. But I think we will go there sooner or later. So probably we will have to collaborate with computers to create music in a more efficient way.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point of view, of course.
Just a side mark, in a discussion it was some days ago, I argued that making, or I said composing intentionally, composing generative music is nothing else than pushing the process, the process of human creativity a little bit at an earlier stage. When I say writing music and playing the piano is more or less the same. Yeah, when some people even can hear when they write. So the process of composing and the process of occurring the music is more or less once. And with the generative approaches, it's not the same. It's the process of composing is at an earlier stage before then the music occurs.
Yes, that's likely. And again, I want to underline how digital tools were seen like something evil and not human when we talk about graphics and design. Nowadays, every designer uses Adobe Illustrator or something like that to make to create graphics. And once it was done by hand. And then when the computer came, oh, it's made with computer, it's not real art, which is, of course, a mistake. It's, of course, an underestimation of the human mind, because how we use these tools, it's the point, not what the tools are.
Sure. Completely different question, back to your products.
Yeah.
Why do Bento and Ongaku look like they do?
Well, can I say that software interfaces are boring?
Yes.
I find it's the same thing I was telling before, that software is very conservative. And more or less, I find that interfaces are boring. Interface play an important role in a musical instrument because it creates a kind of imaginary of your music in some ways. If you think of the fascination people has with, so just like, I don't know, Buchlas instrument. Why the Buchla is so sought after, not just because it was expensive or rare, but because it looks pretty good compared to a black panel with black pots. There is color. There is something that is really about design. So I thought, well, I like Japanese noise. Of course, what I did, it was a kind of not historical, because of course the Japanese were noise came from the rock music, not from the electronic music. It's more related to rock, the Japanese noise scene. But I saw something interesting in their writing, in their aesthetics, in their beautiful arrangement of colors or something like that. And I think that we have a lack of good designers, good graphic designers in software. There is a lack of fantasy, a lack of pepper, so to speak, a lack of taste. It tastes very much all the same. And I have seen that this works pretty well. People got, for example, Bento was a real bet on something. It's all Japanese. Okay. I expected people insulting me because it was in Japanese. Instead, I said, well, it's Japanese. It's okay if you don't understand what it's all about. I like to get lost because synthesizers are very predictable. So I wanted people at first to get lost. Okay, I give you something that you cannot compare to anything you know. I give you also sounds that are not related to classical sounds, so electronic music, at least some part of it. And at the end of the day, people really like this. They find this very interesting, different, and as I said, it's a beautiful interface. It's beautiful to look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantasy, more to be more brave in interfaces. Sometimes they do it also in the analog world. For example, Make Noise has a different approach to graphic design on panels, but still there is graphic design and graphic design. And I think that we can evolve and go further also on this, which is very related because an instrument is also an object of design. Let's be honest. A synthesizer is a beautiful object of design. So I think that also that part needs development.
I see. Okay, so I was not completely wrong because I had an idea when I saw it for the first time, quite a time ago. I have a good friend. She's an instructor or teacher or I don't know, coach for our local symphonic orchestra. He teaches strings, and he once told me that a good violinist doesn't know which string he or she is pushing at a certain moment. And this came into my mind when I saw Bento. I say, well, you look at it, you really don't know what are you doing. And perhaps that's intentional.
It is because probably it's my long experience with synthesizers and modular. I started playing synthesizers back in 1992. And to me, every synthesizer looks very predictable. I know how this is going to react with this. For example, something I like Surge because it's not that predictable, especially some old Surge.
Great thing.
I like also some things of Buchla, which make you think, oh, what is this? And so my idea was to give some taste of unpredictable to the people. So say, okay, this is something you don't know what it is. But if you use your ears, you will understand it, basically. You will get the algorithm, what is going on, but without being sure that it's going to react in a certain way. I want to give you some uncertainty.
Sure.
And it works. I was not sure it was going to sell well. I fear that, well, probably people will find it so freaky and strange that nobody will care about this. And I was wrong. I tell you, I was wrong. I am seeing a completely opposite reaction. They are enthusiastic about this. This
I
makes
can imagine.
People really like new ideas of design and like to get lost, like also new processors that are not out there. Of course, it's also about music, about sound, but also about how it looks, how strange it looks, how wild. And this, I think that you have inspiration looking at the instruments. I'm sure that people love to use modular instruments because they are beautiful to see. They are not only beautiful to hear, they are really beautiful things, beautiful design. And I think that we can go further.
Thank you for watching this first part of our talk. How did you like it? Which topic were you most interested in, and are you satisfied by the way we deal with this topic in the talk? Well, just tell us by commenting down below the video. Part 2 is going to be published next week, and well, here are the topics we are going to talk about.